This episode is brought to you by Century Insurance. Century Insurance is an A-plus rated mutual insurance company specializing in providing all lines of insurance protection for artisan and trade contractors through a very limited number of select agency partners like Rancho Mesa Insurance.
You're listening to Rancho Mesa's Studio One podcast, where each week we break down complex insurance and safety topics to help your business thrive. I'm your host today, Megan-Lockhart, and I'm joined by Rory Anderson, partner in Rancho Mesa's Landscape and Tree Care Group. And today we're going to talk about the deadliest hazards in the tree care industry. So Rory, welcome to the show.
Hey, Megan. Yeah, thanks for having me here today.
Happy to have you. Now, you recently wrote an article where you discussed the 3 deadliest hazards for tree care professionals based on data published by the Tree Care Industry Association. So based on this data, what are the 3 leading types of accidents in the tree care industry?
Yeah, so when you look at TCIA's data, 3 things really rise to the top over and over again. The big one is falls. So that's about 1/3 of all fatalities in the industry. Then you've got electrical contact, which is incredibly dangerous, and that accounts for about 14%. And then lastly is struck by incidents, which can include falling branches or even ropes and lines getting pulled into chippers. So those are the 3 categories that really make up the bulk of the severe and fatal events that we see in the industry.
Okay, well, let's cover the first one. So why do falls account for such a large percentage of fatalities, and what specific practices can prevent these incidents?
Yeah, so falls are obviously a big problem, mainly because climbers are constantly working in these dynamic and unpredictable environments. And so a lot of incidents happen when someone becomes unsecured, even just for a second, or when an anchor point fails just because of like hidden decay that you couldn't see. We still see climbers going down with the tree because the structure just wasn't sound. So that's climbing. Aerial lifts are another one. People forget that being in a lift doesn't make you safe by default. If you're not clipped in or your harness is clipped to the wrong spot, a fall can become fatal pretty quickly. So prevention really comes back to doing the basics extremely well. Thorough inspections, looking for decay, always staying tied in and being super deliberate about your anchor points. And when you're in lifts, it's simple. Harness on and actually attached, right? So don't open the gates when you're in the air. It's those little habits that can save lives.
Yeah, that's really important. So what about the second one? What are the most common scenarios that lead to struck by injuries in tree care, and what steps can crews take to minimize these risks?
Yeah, so struck by injuries usually come down to branches doing something unexpected, swinging, falling, kicking back, and then a ground worker being in the wrong place at the wrong time. A lot of times it's because nobody called out the cut, or somebody just walked into that drop zone because they thought the area was clear. And then you've got chippers, and they don't really get talked about enough, but the struck by events around chippers are pretty serious. Usually it's a rope or a winch line getting sucked in, which can whip around and hit the operator. So the fixes aren't complicated. Clear communication, actually establishing a drop zone and respecting it. And then for chippers, it's keeping the ropes bagged and setting the chipper up away from the rigging. So just a few small adjustments can make a huge difference in the long run.
Okay, great. So how do electrical contact accidents typically occur, and what precautions should crews take to avoid them?
Electrical contact is just brutal because there's almost no room for error. Most of the incidents that we see are indirect contact, so the climber doesn't actually grab a line, but their pole saw does, or a branch that they're holding swings into a primary distribution line. About half of those involve climbers making contact through a conductive tool rather than grabbing it hands-on. So the key is understanding that minimum approach distance is not just about your body, it's your body plus the full length of your tools, plus whatever you're cutting that could swing or fall. So that's where people get, caught off guard. The precaution is really strict line clearance thinking. So knowing your distances, assume the line is energized, and understand the movement of the tree before making it cut. You can't just like wing it around power lines. That's just too serious of a scenario.
Okay. Well, this was all a lot of really great information that I think tree care companies can utilize. So Rory, if listeners have questions about managing their tree care risk, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, happy to help anybody out. My number is 619-486-6437, or you can email me at randerson@ranchomesa.com.
Great. Okay. So Rory, thanks for joining me in Studio One.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for tuning in to our latest episode produced by Studio One. If you enjoyed what you heard, please share this episode and subscribe. For more insights like this, visit us at ranchomesa.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter.